Good morning. Thank you for having us. We're representing Thomas College from Waterville, Maine, and we're here to present our long-term and short-term solutions for rider systems. My name is Caitlin Rourke. I will be covering a company overview, government regulation, and our long-term initiative.
Good morning. My name is Landon Wilbur. I will be addressing the SWOT analysis that we've conducted for rider systems, in addition to briefly overviewing the problems that we've identified after further analyzation of the case. And I will also be going over the short-term solution that we have provided for the labor shortage problem.
Good morning, I'm Amanda Landry, and I'll be covering Ryder's short-term solution for their employee compensation, as well as a short-term solution for their recent financial shortfalls.
So Ryder has been operating for approximately 85 years now, and they're a prime example of the American dream. They started out with just a $35 investment in one truck, and they've grown to the largest transportation service provider in the nation. I will now hand it over to Landon, who will cover the SWOT, problem identification, and labor shortages.
So here is the SWOT analysis that we have conducted for you. We've identified three main strengths of the organization, which include their revenues, their retail capabilities, and their warehousing. So since the founding of the organization, Ryder's revenues have constantly been increasing, and they now currently bring in $6 million a year. In regards to their retail capabilities, they provide end-to-end retail supply chain solutions, which deliver visibility and control for their customers. And with expertise, Ryder provides services such as warehousing, transportation, vehicle maintenance, and distribution to more than 584 retailers. For a quick overview of the weaknesses that we've identified, which we will go more in depth later on in the presentation, we have compensation, labor shortages, and recent shortfalls in net income and earnings per share. The threats that we have identified include the labor shortages again, government regulation, and increasing accidents and crashes. Increasing driving time and distance are two major factors in increasing accidents within the industry. In fact, in 2015, 3,411 large trucks and buses were involved in fatal crashes. This is an 8% increase from 2014 and a 26% increase from 2009. In addition, we've also identified major opportunities for the organization, which include globalization, penetration of developing third world nations, public transportation, and strategic partnerships, specifically with Amazon. So now that we've identified the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to the organizations, I'd like to briefly overview the problems that we have identified after further analyzation of the case. We've identified problems such as labor shortages, salary competition, government regulation, and shortfalls within their financial statements. Short-term solution. I will now hand it over to Amanda, who will identify the problem and the never mind. We will start with the labor shortage problem, the short-term solution. So we have looked at this from two different perspectives. In short, we can simply hire more employees as there is a labor shortage problem. We have decided, though, that this doesn't really give the other employees within the organization room to grow or room to experience different aspects of the organization, and generally costs more money to do so. So we wanted to focus on retention rates and how we can get the employees to stay within the organization and how we can get them to enjoy their position there. So we've devised a list of ways that we can do this, starting with increasing benefits. We understand that Ryder already provides a really great benefits package for their employees, including things such as accidental and dismemberment coverage, in addition to a 401k plan with a matching system. However, we would like Ryder to implement non-financial rewards, which Amanda will talk about later in her segment. We would like Ryder to begin cross-training employees, which gives other employees room to experience different aspects of the organization. It gives them more room to grow, and it gives them more power within the company. Preparing for turnover. If the company is able to prepare for turnover, they can identify that as it arises and begin to attack it as soon as it happens. Development of career paths. Give the employee's job a real meaning. If what they're doing now has no effect on what they want to do in the future, then they're unlikely to stay within the organization. Provide constant feedback and communication to the employees. Let the employees know how they're doing within the organization and let them know that their work is appreciated. And lastly, we identified reward systems as a way to attack the labor shortage problem, which is simply sort of like benefit packages, but a little bit different. Really give the employees an added bonus or an incentive for really going the extra mile. And now we'll turn it over to Amanda, who will attack the short-term solution to the salary competition and the shortfalls within their financial statements.
So as Landon mentioned, I'm going to cover the short-term solution for their salary competition. We determined that riders should first determine what competitors are paying and then adjust their compensation plans accordingly. I did do some additional research that suggested that riders' current wages for their drivers is not completely unfair, and it does fall within industry averages. So with that said, we wanted to focus more heavily on incorporating non-financial awards, as Landon mentioned earlier. In addition, we want to incorporate merit salary increases. Riders' first priority should be to retain and satisfy their star employees. So we thought a great way to do this would be by awarding the largest salary increases to those employees. Not only will your best performers be more satisfied, but it will also lead to motivating your satisfactory employees to perform better as well. So as Landon briefly mentioned, we thought incorporating non-financial awards would be a great way to go forward with retention. So Ryder could begin motivating them by maybe incorporating an annual trip to reward employees. Not only would this establish a camaraderie among employees, but it would also help to grow the culture within the company. In addition, it'll help satisfy them more, which will all help to aid in retention. So due to Ryder's slowly declining earnings per share and a recent dip in net income, we identified these weaknesses for the firm. Though Ryder's statements illustrate heavy increases in their revenues, it's safe to assume, as it wasn't specifically mentioned in the case, that there's been an increase in spending somewhere to result in the decrease in net income. So to combat this weakness, Ryder should consider investing in outstanding shares. And as previously stated, they should really focus heavily on retention, as this will aid their financial standing by reducing turnover. So we thought it would be good to incorporate a graph from the case study. This just depicts their comparable earnings per share as well as their share count history. And as the graph depicts, they've demonstrated steady increases from the years 2009 all the way to 2015, where they did peak at $6.13 a share. But as you can also see, the last 2 years, they did see a decline in the earnings per share. So considering our proposed short-term and long-term strategies that Caitlin will cover to follow, we believe that Ryder's recent financial shortfalls will see a rebound and begin to make a more positive trend. So Caitlin will tackle the short-term solution to government regulation in addition to our proposed long-term solution for Ryder.
So the process of hiring lawyers and finding loopholes can be extremely costly. So first, Ryder should look to establish a culture of adaptability within their organization. This will help lessen the blows of government regulation as they happen. However, that's not a long-term solution for that problem. I believe that they should first look to our capital to employ special interest in lobbying and partner with associations such as the American Trucking Association in order to gain footholds in our political process in Congress to promote their ideas. And next, the Ryder Resolution is our long-term initiative for Ryder systems. We will be specifically looking at a strategic partnership and globalization. So our strategic partnership is specifically with Amazon. This is going to be a mutually beneficial business arrangement for them. In exchange for Ryder's safe, efficient, and reputable outsourcing, Amazon will give them access to their high demands, which will help increase their bottom line. So that's going to help aid in that short-term problem of their problems with net income by increasing their revenues further. And Amazon is perfectly capable of supplying this high demand for Ryder. They ship over 608 million packages a year, which is an extreme high demand. They ship all over the nation, and that's a great opportunity for Ryder to implement. Next, the case briefly mention globalization as something that Ryder has done in the past. They partner with countries such as Canada, the UK, Poland, Argentina, and Brazil. We feel like the next step for them is penetrating a third world developing nation, such as India. And we see this for three main purposes. The first is the sheer market size of India. The population is at 1.3 billion currently and is expanding as we speak. And they also see about a 7% economic growth in their economy. And this has increased since they gained their independence in 1947 from the UK, where they only experienced a 1% growth of their economy every year. The next is the market need of India. Their transportation infrastructure is vastly underperforming based on their demand of their population. This gives Ryder a unique opportunity to enter this market, which I will discuss later, that strategic move. The next is the aligning American interest with India. It's at its surface level a matter of politics. We have a similar political system as them, which is democracy. And they are something that, once developed, could rival a nation like China just based on their population and the innovation that they have within that country. This is going to help further Ryder's ideas towards government regulation and gaining that foothold if they're seen as a first mover into that industry, and to be promoting American interests that can help their interests within our own nation. So this strategic move involves public transportation, which was also briefly mentioned in the case. I was given the impression that it wasn't completely fleshed out, so it may be a new business segment within Ryder that they would look to invest in. Within this, I would like to see them invest in research and development for green initiatives within their transportation models. So this is going to help lessen the impact of the large population of India based on what they consume for energy. Their top two are coal and petroleum products. So this also lines up with the American interest of not seeing them impacting resources as heavily, especially at the environmental impact scale. Then I have a picture for you guys. That's just one example of one area of India and how their daily commute goes. So if we can find an opportunity within India, it can be extremely profitable for Ryder. So in conclusion, given the short-term solutions, it's going to help keep net income up to the consistent performance of revenues that Ryder has seen. By addressing retention and turnover, Ryder will eliminate money sinks that, that eliminate money sinks, and the problematic nature of government regulation is going to help open doors to them being a domestic and international superpower within the transportation industry. Lastly, Ryder's strategic partnership with Amazon and their high demand will ensure improvement of their net income past the short term. You could say that Ryder will go the extra mile.